Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the best video editing software for YouTubers. And this is actually a question I've gotten asked a couple times is, hey Jaren, I'm just starting YouTube, what is the best editing software for me? And so today, we're going to be talking about that. Now the best way to think about video editing software is to think about it like your weapon of choice, right? The Jedi have their lightsabers, and Legolas has his bow and arrow, and so it's basically your choice, and it's something that best fits your needs. So today I'm going to be talking about 4 of the most popular software that is being used today that you can make your weapon of choice, your tool of trade, and we're going to dive into it right now. Now, number 1 is iMovie. iMovie is going to be the first basic software that I would recommend anybody that's getting into video editing or YouTube. This is the first software I would recommend you use. iMovie is actually pretty solid for starting editors because it has some great stock text generators as well as some stock transitions that are really solid, and it basically kind of gives you the tools you need to help you get started with editing and understanding how the whole process works. It gives you all the basic tools to be able to cut, paste your clips together to form a very basic YouTube video. It's a pretty solid software. Now, the downsides to this is that it is only available on Mac, so if you are looking for a Windows alternative, I would recommend looking into Filmora 9. I haven't looked into it too much, but that was kind of the alternative that I saw when I was doing some research to iMovie, if you're on Windows, so Filmora 9, I would look into that. Now, with iMovie, you can only add so many layers onto your timeline. There's only so much that you can actually do before Apple just goes, ha, you need to give us more money, because that's what Apple does, and so we have to give them more money. Now, don't worry, we're going to be talking about iMovie Pro in a second, but we have another software that I want to talk about first. Number 2, coming in hot, is DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve, I feel like it's becoming more and more popular around the YouTube space. It just seems like I keep hearing more about it lately, and it's an actually very powerful software, which is really cool. Now, DaVinci Resolve is actually a full-on professional-grade editing software that is going to give you all the tools that you need, and then more. Now, in a previous video, I did accidentally compare iMovie to DaVinci Resolve, which those are on 2 different playing fields. iMovie's here, DaVinci Resolve is up here. DaVinci Resolve is a full-grade professional editing software, so if you use DaVinci Resolve, I am sorry, I did not mean to degrade your software. I know they have their own community, essentially, so I apologize to any DaVinci Resolve users. Now, DaVinci Resolve is super powerful, and what actually separates it from the rest of the software that we talk about is that it has really amazing built-in tools for color grading. Now you might be asking yourself, what is color grading? What happens sometimes when you're using some professional cameras that have some special color profiles, settings that you can choose, is a lot of times the colors don't quite come out accurate. You know, skin tones don't look super accurate, you know, purples don't look purple, orange doesn't look orange, you know, it just doesn't look right. So a lot of times what you need to do is you need to go into post and correct the color. Now, I didn't realize like how deep this went. Like, there are legitimate jobs that are just color correcting. Like that's all they do is color correct footage. It's actually kind of crazy. When I did some research on this, I was like, wow, that is fascinating. Now, chances are if you're just doing some basic YouTube videos, you don't need to use any color correcting tools. It's not anything you need, but DaVinci Resolve still offers a ton of amazing tools that you can use to still make your videos. Now, one thing with DaVinci Resolve is that it is a little bit overwhelming at first when you start looking into it, and that's a common issue with a lot of new software or a lot of editing software in general, is that you don't know where everything is, so it is a bit overwhelming at first when you're trying to find an editing software to use. Now, it's not as simple as iMovie, it's a little bit more complex than that because there's a lot more tools to choose from, but overall, once you learn DaVinci Resolve and you learn that interface, you learn where everything is, it is extremely powerful software that you can use just to make some basic videos and even, you know, more professional grade videos. And the best part about it is the software is free. Now, there is a paid for version that gives you a little bit more advanced tools. Chances are, if you're just making some basic YouTube videos, you're not going to need that, but overall, DaVinci Resolve is a pretty solid option. All right, moving on to number 3. This is Final Cut Pro, aka iMovie Pro. This is the software that Apple is like, hey, you want to pay us more money for this. And it actually legitimately is a pretty solid software. Basically, Final Cut Pro is iMovie, but on steroids. Basically. Final Cut Pro is actually my editor of choice. I personally like editing with Final Cut Pro. I started on iMovie, so moving to Final Cut Pro was actually a fairly easy transition for me. Everything is pretty much in the same place. It has the same kind of layout. It's a little different, but once you get through the differences, it's very easy to use, and it's a super powerful software. Now, Final Cut Pro does have some pretty solid generators, stock text, and transitions just built into the software, which is really cool. And what is really great about this is it does open the door to third-party plugins. Third-party plugins, if you ever want to know how I do this, It is with a third-party plugin. These little callouts and text animations, those are third-party plugins that I bought and installed into Final Cut Pro, and I love using them. Mostly because I don't have to animate them. That's the best part. It's literally a drag and drop into the timeline, let it render for a second, and then it's good to go. Now, the one thing I should note about Final Cut Pro is that this is not a free software. This is actually, you do have to pay for this. It is $300, so it is a bit steep, I know, but it is well worth it, in my opinion. Now, I'm not sure if Apple still offers this deal, but they did offer a student, in their student store, they offer a little discount with a $200 software bundle, which includes Final Cut Pro, Logic, and then a ton of other software. And I think it was like, I did the math, it totaled to like $600 worth of software for $200, which was solid. So you might want to look into that. But again, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to invest in Final Cut Pro, and just that one-time payment though, it's pretty solid, so maybe saving up and getting it will be worth it. Overall, I really enjoy using Final Cut Pro. It is an amazing software. It is super easy to use, especially if you're coming from iMovie. It has all the basic tools and then some, and then you could add third-party plugins that give you even more tools, which is great. So I would highly recommend Final Cut Pro. All right, let's dive into number 4, Adobe Premiere. Adobe Premiere is basically the industry standard software. If you're looking at any job description of any video editor or production, they want experience with Adobe Premiere because everybody uses it. Adobe Premiere is very similar to Final Cut Pro in that you can add third-party plugins. It has the same basic stock stuff that you can use, which is pretty cool. It gives you the same basic tools that you would need to make basic YouTube videos. Now again, with Adobe Premiere, I found that it was a little bit overwhelming to learn at first, but again, once you learn it, once you kind of figure out where everything is and you get used to that interface, again, it is a very powerful tool, just like DaVinci Resolve, just like Final Cut Pro. It is extremely powerful and it gives you a lot of options to create high quality content. Now what's really cool about Premiere is that since it is made by Adobe, it works with other Adobe software. So if you're making something in Photoshop or InDesign, you can import that stuff into Premiere easily. Or if you have some animation stuff going on in After Effects, you can then work on that and add it into your project in Premiere, which is also pretty cool. So it's cool that Adobe has a lot of apps that talk to each other. That's a big reason why a lot of people use the Adobe ecosystem. Now, the one problem I do have with Premiere and Adobe in general is it is a subscription-based service. So it is a $20 a month service for just one app. So if you want to use Premiere, it's going to cost you $20 a month. Now, for me, I found it to be a lot more worth it just to pay that one-time payment for Final Cut Pro, even though it was a little expensive at first. I feel like I've gotten my money's worth out of Final Cut Pro, whereas Premiere, I would still be paying $20 a month, which, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of. I just prefer that one-time payment, but that's just me. But again, Adobe Premiere is going to give you all the tools necessary. It's a great editing software, and it is an industry standard for a reason. There's a lot you could do with it, and it is extremely powerful. All right, let's talk about the software you should choose and what I would recommend. Now, if you are just brand new to editing, you haven't really done a whole lot, I would definitely recommend using iMovie if you have a Mac. If you can use it, it is a great software to use. I would highly recommend. It's just very easy. There's not a whole lot that's in your face that's like overwhelming. It's extremely easy to get started and just making basic YouTube videos. And if you're on Windows, definitely looking into Filmora 9. I've heard great things about that software as well. Now, if you are just starting, you could also start out with DaVinci Resolve. Again, if you take the time to learn the software, to learn the interface, because you will have to learn the interface with any software you choose. If you choose DaVinci Resolve, it is a very powerful software, and what's great about it is you may not even want to switch. You may not even need Final Cut Pro. You may not even need Premiere. DaVinci Resolve offers a lot of tools for you to make high-quality videos for YouTube, which is great. Now, maybe you've been editing for a little bit and you've been using iMovie or Filmora 9, you've been using these really simple softwares that are free to use, and you're ready to invest a little bit. You're ready for something a little bit more advanced. Now, I do think if you are strictly on a PC, using Adobe Premiere is probably the better option because, unfortunately, Final Cut Pro is not available for Windows. But if you are using a Mac, I mean, Final Cut Pro is honestly the best software you could use, I think, for that system. It works really well. I'm a huge fan of Final Cut Pro. Yeah, I would recommend it. So, at the end of the day, it does boil down to what software you want to use and your personal choice. Again, this is a weapon of choice kind of deal. So, find something that works best for you and what your needs are and your editing style once you develop that. So, I hope this was helpful and gave you some insights as to what software you want to choose. Now guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This video was actually inspired by somebody in the comments section, so if you have a question about video editing or production in general, just let me know in the comments down below and I may just make a video about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you. Hope you enjoyed the video today. If you guys like this video, leave a like. And if you guys want to see more content like this, do feel free to hit that subscribe button. We'll greatly appreciate it. With that, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.